Good morning. My name is VKitchin, and I will be presenting on the topic of research skills acquisition, specifically fostering and measuring research and information literacy skills across 4 years of an undergraduate medical education program. As the MD undergraduate librarian at UBC, one of Canada's 15 research-intensive universities, I am responsible for the coordination of library services and collections for the UBC distributed MD undergraduate program. In collaboration with the MD undergraduate librarians at the distributed sites, University of Victoria, University of Northern British Columbia, and University of British Columbia Okanagan, I coordinate and participate in the provision of in-depth reference and instruction services for all medical students enrolled in the program. I am also responsible for working in collaboration with UBC medical faculty, hospital librarians, UBC librarians, and other stakeholders to coordinate continuing collection development in support of students, faculty, and staff in the program. Library instruction and information retrieval expertise is paramount to a medical doctor's career. Not only are doctors meant to be engaged in a scholarly conversation with the medical literature, but they require the honed and practiced skills of identifying the best evidence as it relates to clinical scenarios. Librarians facilitate this knowledge acquisition. However, time in the MD undergraduate program is very stretched, and students receive 2 hours of formal library instruction in their first year, with the option of attending one one-hour lecture in the spring. This is the only formal lecture they receive over 4 years. I am also available for one-on-one consultations. However, only about 40% of students book these. My current instructional practices with MD undergraduate students take place primarily in one-on-one and small group research consultations. I instruct medical students on research processes, primarily systematic and literature review methods, with more than 80% of my instruction interactions being on review methodology. The unstructured approach to library instruction and its impact on students was clearly seen in a fourth-year course, Preparation for Medical Practice, this past academic year. Students had to conduct independent research projects, but the abilities of students were wide-ranging and variable. Some were expert searchers and understood the context of how medical information is stored, in addition to being able to apply advanced search techniques in medical databases, while others were unaware of some of the basic underpinnings of evidence-based medicine and information seeking. This led to the realization that there is a lack of deep learning when it comes to information literacy, and that previous methods of content delivery resulted in too much variability across students. In order to ameliorate this, I intend to investigate best practices in delivering online content and embed online learning modules that are graded and enable scaffolding of research skills so that undergraduate medical students retain a foundational level of information literacy. My role with the Faculty of Medicine is intricately involved with curriculum development and assessment. The Evaluation Studies Unit provides documented feedback on library instruction. I have received requests for province-wide workshops, and I believe this further reflects the need to fill gaps. The main performance indicator for fourth-year students as it relates to instruction across 4 years is that of the fourth-year informatics session, which is where I most heavily identified information literacy gaps. Having only been with the program for 18 months, my hope is to assess the best way to create a flexible learning environment that students can use to support their research skills. This will be a plethora of learning events that will enhance the 2 hours of instructional time I am given with students in their first year. In order to establish and implement undergraduate medical education curricular content in an online delivery method, I searched the literature to ascertain how research skills were being taught in other undergraduate medical programs. In doing so, I identified a gap with respect to initiatives describing delivery of such content in a spiraling method, i.e. across 4 years and building upon previous year's curriculum. I was able to draw on content related to information literacy and program development from Abdikota et al., Carroll et al., and McClurg et al. I also identified a further gap in the higher education literature regarding evidence-based practices pertaining to issues implied in information literacy skills development, especially as it relates to evidence-based medicine and clinical practice. Pearson and Hubbell's work on the espoused, enacted, and experienced curriculum, however, served as a great foundation for understanding the concepts of curricular integration and integrative learning. Speaking specifically to pharmacy programs, where students are expected to acquire the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed for competent practice in a complex environment, they stated that enhancement of integration relies heavily on investing the time and effort to decide and implement integrated curricula. As Pearson and Hubble identify, future avenues of scholarly inquiry are suggested to evaluate curricular integration, distinguishing between the curriculum espoused by planners, the curriculum enacted by instructors, and the curriculum experienced by students. This summary is a perfect elucidation of the analysis of curricular integration I will be undertaking. Pearson and Hubble further identified that curricular integration is a complex, multifaceted process that requires a scholarly approach to development, implementation, and evaluation. With the knowledge that curricular integration is a multifaceted event, with barriers such as discipline-based institutional structures, concepts of knowledge, and traditions of teaching and learning, I plan to embed online content as a spiraling method throughout 4 years of medical undergraduate curriculum. As such, my research question states, in the context of undergraduate medical education at UBC, what are effective ways to strategically develop information literacy and research skills over 4 years of curriculum? I will implement participatory action research methods as a way to understand the content and current state of teaching and learning in the MD undergraduate program. I will measure the effectiveness of scaffolding online content in addition to providing individual research consultations. I will use mixed methods approaches to examining students' levels of inquiry and ability to apply scholarship to evidence-based medicine practices, all within the context of understanding the Committee on Accreditation of Canadian Medical School Standards. I will further implement a comparative case study approach by comparing the final research product of fourth-year preparation for medical practice students from the old curriculum to those of the new. Bartlett and Vavris describe how case study research depends on the epistemology and methodology engaged by the author. They believe it is important to discuss the distinction between variance-oriented, interpretivist, and process-oriented approaches to case study research. Process-oriented approaches are appropriate for a comparative case study analysis. Process approaches tend to see the world in terms of people, situations, events, and the processes that connect these. Explanation is based on an analysis of how some situations and events influence others. Notably, this approach eschews the interpretive refusal to consider causation, but it also avoids the variance-oriented notion of causation. Quantitative researchers tend to be interested in whether and to what extent variance in X causes variance in Y. Qualitative researchers, on the other hand, tend to ask how X plays a role in causing Y and what the process is that connects X and Y. Further methodology I will implement will draw from test scores and student research products. The Evaluation Studies Unit at the Faculty of Medicine provides a formal report of FLEX evaluations. FLEX stands for Flexible Enhanced Learning and is the new curriculum's research-intensive course. The scores of the test will be quantitative. The intervention or independent variable will be the online quizzes, and the dependent variable will be the scores as well as frequency of requests for consults. With respect to the level of questions asked in consults, as well as the performance on the Year 4 informatics assignment, this data collection will allow for an inductive analysis that will be coded using MVivo to determine patterns or ongoing themes related to research skill level. Measuring impact will be highly evident in the difference between outgoing fourth-year students and fourth-year students beginning in August of this year. Accordingly, the strength of my inquiry will lie in the greater potential for triangulation, where multiple sources of data will potentially verify my findings from various sources. Assessing impact will be multifaceted as well. Librarians support the MD undergraduate curriculum in a myriad of ways, and student success will be the main measure in relation to this research inquiry. This will be measured looking at student literacies, independent learning, critical thinking, and fluencies. Narrating that success will be evidenced by broad impacts on library involvement with the curriculum. These will further address how learning outcomes are met as they relate to research skills acquisition, in addition to novel insights and relationships students build. More quantitative measures will be seen in how we address budgetary concerns related to collection development and the hours we spend on individual instruction and reference. Future phases of quantitative data collection will include collating data from our reference statistics software, measuring our collections and access, and further integrating flexible learning options. The impact of my inquiry is aimed at assessing the efficiency of delivering evidence-based medicine and information literacy instruction in an online delivery method that results in robust and comprehensive understanding and application by undergraduate medical students. This will be a study that compares performance of fourth-year medical students from the previous curriculum to those enrolled in the new, more research-intensive curriculum. Students' attitudes and competencies concerning online searching and search strategy development will be measured and hopefully result in robust research skills that will impact MD student careers. Finally, this is a short list of references on which I based my inquiry, and I look forward to your discussions and to your questions and to further discussing the content of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time.